live. First ever product showcase, and I probably ought to start this off by explaining firstly that Tom and I do work together. So it's a chance for us to show you something new that we've been working on. But this product showcase, product spotlight, whatever you want to call it, is something that we think can add value to schools and EdTech providers. So it's not something that we're using as a vehicle for our business. It's a chance for us to showcase to schools, educators, and teachers, senior leaders, etc. Anyone who's interested in EdTech, a chance for us to connect them with EdTech providers without all the wraparound sales related stuff. So you can watch these in your own time. You can watch them live. If you're interested in a certain type of product, you can search and say, have we got a spotlight on this? You watch it and you know that nobody's following you up with phone calls, etc. So we think it's a nice idea to really bring to you stuff that can help you in the classroom without any added pressure. There is one caveat though. So if you're an EdTech provider and you're watching this and you want to take part in a product spotlight, the caveat is you must be able to articulate to anybody who's listening what problem you solve in a school. So this is not a feature bash type demo. This is what problem does the product we're showing you solve, and hopefully the listeners will resonate with that problem and the solution, and then can reach out if they're interested. We're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we are live on Twitter. So people will be watching from different spaces. If you've got any questions throughout this session, you just put them in the chat. They come through at this end. If we miss them, we'll follow them up in written form afterwards, or feel free to reach out to us. So without any further delay, Tom, have I missed something?
So last time, I'm always the guinea pig on your...
Always, yeah.
And last time my blind fell down in the middle of it. This time I've got a fly flying
I saw
around.
it. I saw him fly around.
Before I come on, I was like, there's a fly in here somewhere. So I got that. Is that a bit cruel?
It depends. I'm going to sit on the fence because we might have two different types of listeners. So
we might. Yeah, it's a bit cruel. So I got that now. I'm having you before we start, but I am. So it's here. So we've got a fly in the room as well.
Could be worse. In this office, we get loads of flies in. We don't know where they come from. There's a drain or ditch that runs outside the office. So we get loads of flies. The other week, Dave went, if you're going out to dinner, Chris, can you get some fly spray? So I went and got some fly spray. I think they like it. They like multiply, spray them and they like multiply instantly. So
Brilliant.
Anyway, I'm not
going
to carry on about flies. So we're here today to look at something new, relatively new to market, called Air. And I did say right at the very start that the caveat for anyone who wants to do one of these product spotlights as an EdTech provider is that you have to be able to articulate the problem that you solve. So I'm going to put a ticker tape across the bottom, Tom, asking you what problem do you solve? And hopefully you'll be able to share with anybody who's listening what problem Air solves.
So the problem we're going after, and we can't solve this on our own, but we can certainly make a dent in it. So the problem we're going after is teacher workload. And I could give a history of how we came up with this product idea. If we really needed to, maybe that's something we could write up because it might go on a bit. But this basically, the idea for this came through Jill, who is one of our co-founders. She's been, I'll do this really quickly. She's been a year 6 teacher, ed teacher, CEO of a MAT. So she's seen firsthand for many, many years the problem around workload for teachers. And with the changes in technology recently, we were discussing, or the advancement in technology recently, we were discussing, is there any way that we can help with the problem around marking writing work, which is a huge task for teachers.
Yeah.
So we can't get rid of the entire teacher workload issue, but we can certainly have a look at maybe going after that amount of time that they're spending marking writing work. And that's the problem we're trying to help solve, is reduce time it takes for them to mark writing work. But also what's really important whilst we're doing that is that we're not reducing the quality of the feedback that the pupil gets. In fact, because it's a computer that does it, we can be really standard in the quality of the output and the feedback that pupils get. Where with all the greatest will in the world, if a teacher's got 25 books to go through on a Sunday afternoon or something, mark number 1 compared to mark number 25, just with cognitive overload, just pure tiredness, that is just naturally going to fall away. Well, the great thing about like a really objective and a consistent bit of software is that it's always going to be the same. So we're constantly working on making sure that that feedback is the very best that a teacher could produce, and we therefore can produce, and it's consistent throughout, and that's really key. So it's reducing teacher workload whilst continuing to maximize pupil outcomes through great feedback.
Perfect. Two big challenges.
Two big challenges, yeah. And that's what we're after.
So originally I thought I would. Sorry, was you going to add something?
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned it's relatively new to market. I'd argue it's like very new to market. It's like we're talking just over a month, maybe 2, is it? Or something like that. Very, very new to market. When I have this conversation with people all the time, they're like, okay, that is a problem that needs solving. And then I go, well, let me show you what we've done, and you tell me whether we've helped solving it or not. And that's where we're at now as a brand new product, is really key to get that customer feedback to make sure that we're just ramping that work around all the time to make sure it's as good as it possibly can be.
So I think I'm fair in saying then, anybody who's watching this, who's in a classroom and you've logged in because you've seen, we've invited you, or you've seen something on LinkedIn or socials, etc., we're keen for you to feedback. So if the only thing that you do today is, if you watch it and the only thing you do is feedback, that is perfectly fine. That is what you want, isn't it, Tom? You want
absolutely
feedback from schools and educators.
Absolutely.
And if you want to do it afterwards, the beauty of doing things through LinkedIn is you don't need Tom's email address. You can just message. So
just send us a message, yeah.
So I thought long and hard about what we do next in these sessions. I want them to be short and sharp. So I was going to ask the question, tell us a little bit what we're about to see. But I think this is going to work better if we just jump straight into you showcasing how you're solving the problems you've mentioned. I will poke and prod if I need to as we go through, and hopefully some people listen and poke and prod as well and ask questions. So
feature badging thing.
Yeah.
Right. Try not to. I'm often going to show you some features now, but hopefully I've preloaded it with the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, we can talk about how we contribute to solving that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool.
So I will share your pre-shared screen. I didn't realize it did some really cool colors in the background as well. That's
there you go. Learn something new.
So over to you, Tom.
Right. Okay. So it's pretty simple. Like I say, we're brand new product to market. It's pretty simple. There's we're not heavily feature rich at the moment, but we have gone right in after solving a particular problem, as we mentioned earlier. So I'm going to do some marking for a piece of work against the Key Stage 2 writing framework. As of September, you're going to be able to do this against your own learning objectives. But right now, I'm going to do the Key Stage 2 writing framework. Okay, so select a pupil. Add an assessment, and I'm going to call this, I'm not going to call it that, that's something else.
Just while you're adding an assessment, Tom, you take care of getting the pupils in there?
We do take care of getting pupils in there. Right now, it's a file import, but we are going to be integrating with systems so where we can kind of pull in data from your management information system.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to take the ticker tape off because it's distracting.
All right. Right. So I've created an assessment now. You name that assessment whatever you want. I wanted to call it front of adverbials, but I copied and pasted somewhere else, so I couldn't do that. So I've now just called it test assessment. And at this point, a teacher has an option of how they want to upload this work, how they want to put work into the application. The first one is we're working with some schools that are using Google Drive or Google Classrooms and OneDrive. So some work might just be on their network somewhere, so they can upload work directly from their network. Or, and this is the vast majority of time, they're going to have a piece of work. And I knew there was a reason I kept all my sons. He's in secondary school now. Get all Riley's primary school work, so I can kind of play with it and test it myself.
But we're scrutinised by a teacher, and now it's getting scrutinised
by his dad. Bless him, yeah. and his granddad's was an English teacher as well, so that's not great. Okay, excuse me. So they have a choice. Most of the time, they've got a piece of work in front of them. But like I say, if it's on the network somewhere, or on the computer somewhere, they can upload it. But if it's not, and they need to take a picture of it and upload it, they get this QR code. And basically, you get your phone, take a scan of the QR code, take a picture of your work, and then it uploads it to the site. Now, what it doesn't do is store that image on the teacher's device, whether it's an iPad or a phone or whatever.
Cool.
Doesn't do that. Now, GDPR is obviously something that we're well aware of and we're always considering. So we don't want to do it for GDPR reasons, but we also don't want to do it just for the teacher's reason. If it's their own personal device, the last thing the school want is all that work to be on their personal device. And the last thing that they want is when they're flicking through the memories of great holidays they've had with a family and then they end up with 200 pieces of work. They don't want that either. So so it just uses the device, whether it's a phone or your iPad, just to send the image up there. But so it doesn't store it, it just sends it up. I'm going to go and get a bit of work from, it's really weird because I can see the screen on that screen and the screen on this screen, from something I've already taken a picture of. So now it's uploading that work. So it's taking that photo, it's uploading it, and now it's processing it. And what it means by processing it, it's using a bit of AI technology that basically goes, look at that image and extract the text from that image to actual text that you could copy paste, if you like. So if you think of text that you could copy paste, what it's doing is it's taking that and it's copying it and pasting it, in a funny kind of way, converting that to text in the application. And I'll show you that in a minute. So you can go back and amend that. So if it kind of gets something wrong, you can just go back and amend it. But majority of time, as long as you take a picture that's kind of square on with your phone, it's going to upload it and it's going to convert that text. Once we've got that text, we can now generate some feedback for the pupil and for the teacher. So they head over to feedback, it generates feedback, and now it goes away. And I'm running this against the Key Stage 2 writing framework. So I've got a year 6 kid. Towards the end of the year, maybe your school's being moderated. Mind you, if they're being moderated, you'd upload more than one piece of work. You'd upload a selection of work and then generate the feedback from a selection of work.
Perfect.
But if you're like just discussing internally, you know, those pupils on the cusp, is this pupil working towards standards, or are they working at expected standards, or are they working at expected standards or the greater depth? You know, when you're having those kind of conversations, this is just going to give you that objective view on that work. So you're getting that kind of marking assistant, but you're also getting somebody who really is just going to give you another opinion for those on the cusp kind of pupils. And this, like I say, trying not to feature bash, but taking this back to the problem that we're solving is now we're producing feedback that you can use to make your own professional judgment. Somebody else in the room with you, if you like, to help you make your own professional judgment of what that pupil is in terms of the standard at the end of Key Stage 2. Or, well, and you could use some of this feedback to actually feedback to the kids. So it's supporting with you, speeding up the amount of how you get feedback to be able to give back to kids for praising and for progress. And I'll show you that now. So don't know how small it is for everybody on different devices and things like that. But basically, it starts off by giving you a paragraph that says, well, based on the information I've got, we think that this pupil is working at the expected standards. So it's saying, based on it is an assistant. So it's not saying it's definitely expected standards. This is saying, this is what I think. So think of this as somebody else who will be doing this manually and coming to you as a teacher saying, this is my thoughts on this. What do you think? It's that kind of assistant, basically. So it's saying, I think that this is a pupil that's working towards expected standard.
Yeah.
Then goes on to give you a reason. So in a paragraph, it'll give you a reason why it thinks that pupil's expected standard. Then it'll go on to pull out the learning objectives from the Key Stage 2 framework to support that reason further, to say, and these, from this bit of work, these are the learning objectives that I think are evidence from this piece of work. Now, if you as a teacher think that this pupil's working a greater depth pupil, it might be that piece of work hasn't got any evidence of things from the greater depth part of the Key Stage 2 framework. So you upload another piece of work and regenerate the feedback until it's kind of giving you what you would expect to that pupil. Or in your, certainly if you're being moderated and you think, well, this pupil is adept, you'll want to go and get that extra piece of work and regenerate the feedback. So it gives you the evidenced framework objectives. Then it gives you a paragraph of saying, well, what this pupil would need to do to progress and hopefully get to greater depth in this case, and what this pupil needs to do to progress. And then you get a real kind of dumbed down version of that, if you like. I shouldn't really say that, should I, for pupils, but like a simplified version. This is a version for the kids. So this is a paragraph of text that's praise. So it's saying to the pupil, this is what you've done really well. So you can give some praise, help you, whether that's verbally or you copy and paste that and put it on a sticker and stick it in the book, or however you share your feedback. It gives you some ideas for praise for that particular work. And then for the pupil, it gives them 2 progress tips. So you always get for the pupil paragraph of praise and then 2 tips for progress. So what they could look at if they were going back and editing that work, maybe what could they do in that work to kind of just improve it a little bit more. So it gives them those 2 tips for feedback. Then it goes on further to give even more detailed feedback. This is where we're at the minute in terms of the user feedback that we're talking about. This is very detailed at the minute. We're really kind of breaking down into ideas and the organization of text and vocab and syntax and punctuation. So it really breaks down everything. And what we're discussing with users at the minute is all this information needed? Which part of these are really important for you to be able to take action and kind of progress this pupil on? But if you do look at one of these, let's say we're working on organization in our class, this will always start with a statement of why the organization of text is important. So it always starts with the why. And then it'll go on to give the pupil some praise. So what they do, it picks out what they've done well in that bit of writing. And then it'll go on to give some progress tips as well. So we always get that same kind of structure as you go through the detailed feedback. And that's everything it does right now. We've got a lot of interesting things coming in the new academic year. So right now it's working against the Key Stage 2 framework. Obviously, for a year 4 teacher to use it in October or September, the Key Stage 2 framework's not going to be what they're wanting. So as of September, they're going to be loading in their own learning objectives. You can upload a piece of work and say, okay, this bit of work I'm specifically looking at this particular learning objective from our writing framework, our internal writing framework, and you get some feedback. It'll be more concise than what you've got at the minute because this is checking against the full Key Stage 2 framework. But if you're just picking 1 or 2 learning objectives, you'll get some praise and some progress tips for the pupils on each individual bit of writing that you upload through the year.
Amazing. I can see there's people watching. If you're watching, you've got any questions, feel free to ask. You just land them in the comments and they'll come through to us. What I'm seeing then, Tom, so we mentioned the problem at the start about workload and maximising impact for students. What we're seeing here is we're saving time because of the assessment piece. We're then supporting teachers through an objective assessment or judgment against that work in a way that's designed to stimulate a bit of conversation about it. So you're not trying to replace a teacher here, which I see, well, it feels like I see quite often with AI related stuff. What we're doing here is supporting a teacher with an objective assessment. Is that right?
It is like a really, it's that completely emotionless person in the room that's giving you that objective feedback. Yeah, so it's just somebody else in the room to be able to go, this is what I think, and that's what it's there to do, to help them speed up picking out what the pupil has done well in that text, picking out what they can do to progress, and then you as a teacher, you read that and you agree or disagree with it. You might not want to share this bit of feedback that comes from there. But if this is bringing back exactly what you think of this pupil, I mean, you've obviously, as a teacher, will always read that piece of work. You're not just going to take a picture, send it up, and then copy paste from there. This is like, you're going to read this piece of work, and you just want that objective feedback, and then see what praise and progress tips it gives for the pupil. And then if you agree with them, then they're there for you to use.
And then the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, the flake in the ice cream is the next steps for students. That's what I'm seeing. It's, as a student, you get that really quick feedback around how you can improve your writing next time round.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one of the the problems that teachers and pupils face with marking, if you like, is the time it takes a teacher to do it, and therefore the time it takes for a pupil to get that feedback. I mean, there's obviously in-class feedback where they'll be doing that and they're kind of walking and doing daily feedback. But I'm talking specifically about that end of unit of work. So maybe when you get to an assessment period, you've done all your kind of your formative bits of writing as you've gone through the week, and maybe you're doing a project at the end of the 4 weeks. You ask them to do a big write. Some schools are kind of calling it. So they do that bigger bit of writing where they'll do a bit of editing. They'll go back and rewrite it. It's when you're at that stage, at that assessment kind of summative stage, that you go, okay, well, let's go, rather than taking 30 books home and on a Sunday full day, I suppose 30 books a take, you're going through each one of them. This is just going to help you speed up that process to go, okay, is this bit of feedback? And then we can get that feedback back to the pupil quicker as well.
Amazing. So, again, I can see there's people watching. If anybody's watching and they're thinking, I want to see more, or I want to find out more, obviously they can reach out to you. I'm repeating myself, but they can reach out to you on LinkedIn. But is there anywhere else they can find out more information?
Yep. So, there's LinkedIn, and then the web address is air-ed.com, air-ed.com.
I'll put that in the comments.
Or if you go there, there's a green button to kind of book a meeting, and we can go through it one-to-one, similar to what I've done now. But then you can ask any questions you've got.
I know the answer to this because I was speaking to you before, but you're on a journey with Air. Users are an integral part of that journey. So you're open to, I know again I'm repeating myself, but you're open to any feedback here, aren't you, people? You want people to reach out, have a look, and give you that critical friendly.
We've got schools using it, really hammering it some and just providing feedback for the rest of this year. If schools want to have a look at it this year and really give it some, and we have some one-to-one time and go through that feedback, that's going to be vitally important for us. So as we get to September, when this could be used as a formative assessment bit of kit, then it's going to be used more regularly, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks by a teacher. We want to make sure that that's just absolutely nailed on as a great bit of kit. So that bit of feedback is vitally important. But I'll say this, I know you know it, Chris, because I keep banging on about it, but whatever we do with this application, it's always going to come from the conversations that we have with our customers and potential customers as well. So, what kind of things should this be doing next? Well, then we'll go through a process of research, and that'll be user conversations. We'll jump on calls and really get to understand what problem they're trying to solve, how they're currently solving it, and really understand what they're trying to achieve from such an update. And then once we really understand that deeply, then we'll go away and build that for the schools. So whether that's you do that now, or whether you do that, once you're a customer, that, either is great, and we'll always be asking for that feedback.
Perfect. So if you're a potential user or somebody who's already using Air, and you're watching this, you can contact Tom via LinkedIn or via email. If you're an EdTech, sorry, Tom.
Yeah, we haven't shared my email. So we shared, the website is air-ed.com. My email is really simple. It's tom@air-ed.com. Cool.
If you're an EdTech provider, I've got over the next few weeks, I've got a provider of video content for schools that's geared towards stopping any issues you've got around using personal Netflix accounts, YouTube, all that sort of stuff. It's vetted video content. Who are going to do a product spotlight. I've got StoryZoo and I've got Lexplore. But if you're an EdTech provider and you see this as a potential vehicle to get your message out, maybe in the run up to BET or whatever, your message out to the market in a non-threatening way, then reach out to me. You can do that again through LinkedIn, or my email address is chris@goaccelerate.org. But again, I'll put that in the comments. And we can have a chat about getting you on one of the spotlights. Other than that, thank you to those of you who've watched. Thanks for showing everyone, Tom. It's really cool, and it definitely is going to change education for the better, in my opinion. And I think it's slightly ironic that we're talking about marking, and now I'm going to go home and see how John Stones and Co. Mark.
That's terrible. That's a terrible joke.
Euro. I think it's a decent joke. I just executed it really poorly. I could have probably wrote it down.
You should have probably warned me you were going to tell that.
Comedy's all about the delivery. Got a lot on. So, I'm not afraid to admit it. So thank you everyone for watching. Those of you that watch it back afterwards, the same applies. Just reach out. Thanks, Tom, and take care, everyone.